Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is Cyclone Jack. Some people were asking to see the mechanisms and the movement of my stirring witch prop. A couple people asked me if they could see her naked or undressed, which is a bit odd. But right before I'm getting ready to put her up for the season, go ahead and take a quick video, show everybody what's going on here. It's nothing new. This is a design that's been done before by several people. The frame of the witch itself is actually the same kind of frame as a cauldron creep. I don't know who came up with that style of frame, but it's a very, very effective frame. It's very simple, doesn't use too much PVC. And what I find to be really great about that particular frame is that it allows the body to move a little bit. You can see the little skids at the bottom there. They're being held down by the cauldron itself. The cauldron is sitting on top of it with the weight of the motor, and I personally have a glowing coals effect down there. But the way the frame comes off the legs there at a 45 degree, where I guess the knees are, and it comes up to the back end with a 90 degree connector that goes up into the body. It sort of makes it's rigid enough so it doesn't fall apart, but it kind of gives it a little sort of a flimsy feel to it, so that when it moves, and I hope you can see it, the body sort of gives away a little bit and it allows it to sort of move forward. It's got this really cool creaking sound to it too, which I really like creaking bones or creaking wood or something. I don't know if you can hear that or not. So yeah, that's the Cauldron Creep frame. I don't take any credit for that. I found that online, and it's a fantastic frame. Last year I had like a real boxy frame and it was awful. It didn't work very well at all and had no give. It was way too rigid. Of course, you got your PVC arms here held together with zip ties right here, and they're zip tied at the joints right there and right here, and zip tied to the actual stick. I drilled a hole through the stick, which I found in the backyard, and that holds the arm exactly where I want. It gives that a nice movement, and the top arm comes off the frame. The top arm is rigid. It's all glued together into the frame there. It's all glued. So that's actually holding the stick up. And also at top here, I have it zip tied. Down. So that's how you get the arm movement there. And of course, you got your cauldron with your wiper motor. I got that from Monster Guts, and that's nothing new. That's standard design right there. It just runs on I think that's an 1.5 inch PVC cap or something like that. The head movement is coming from a reindeer motor. I didn't see much on the forums this year about reindeer motors, but they were pretty hot within the last few years. You can see there the reindeer motor. It's attached directly into the frame. I just ran a couple of screws right through the frame and ran the screws into the little pre-drilled holes in the motor itself. And that's a hurricane tie from Home Depot. I happen to have a few of those laying around. I figured made for a really cool joint. Works out pretty nice, and some scrap metal. And instead of screws, I just used cotter pins. I don't know if you can see it when it comes back around. I use a cotter pin, and it allows it to move around very easily. Right there's the cotter pin. I didn't have screws or washers, or I just didn't take the time to use that. There's also a cotter pin in the bar right here, if you can see that. That's what connects that bar to that piece of PVC right there. But the reindeer motors, I had to try a couple placements on the frame where I put it on the frame. You just got to sort of mess with it a little bit and try to make it work that way to get the exact movement that you want. But that just comes up and 45 or 90 degree, that goes into a T. And this is a 3/4 inch T. This is a 1/2 inch PVC right there, so it just sort of swings right there. When I disconnect the reindeer motor from it, it just swings there. Got a couple of screws right there. I didn't want to mess with putting connectors on with PVC or anything. I just centered it where I wanted it, and just ran a couple of screws in there, and that's enough to hold it centered where I want it, so the head doesn't slide side to side. The PVC just runs up into her head. This mask here, it's not really a mask, it was actually a prop. It was a hanging witch prop. And I took it apart, and I like the look of it, and I couldn't find a mask that I really cared for, so I just took it apart, and I used this. It was pretty heavy. The reindeer motor was struggling with it originally, so I ended up cutting out the back and gutting out some stuff that was inside of it. There was some wire in it and a bunch of other junk, so I cut it down, made it as light as possible, and now the reindeer motor doesn't struggle with it at all. She's just hot glued in there. And this little connector right here at this 90-degree elbow, it actually just slips out for storage. There's a few parts of this that'll come apart, like right here at, I guess, what you call the hip. That comes apart for storage. Down here in these, I call them skids, I guess you can call them feet. Those come apart as well, so I can store her a little easier. Of course, I'll just cut the zip ties of the stick. She runs real smooth. She's got a real creepy movement to her. She looks directly down into the cauldron, and she stands, I'm going to say, about 5 feet tall. So she looks directly at you, and then with that movement she looks directly down into the cauldron, and it's very, very effective. The cauldron, I missed it with some white spray paint on the inside. I don't know if you can see. There's a green rope light in there, and that white sort of allowed the whole thing to glow. And it was just enough light to uplight her face. Had a little bit of ambient light from the rest of the backyard as well. But it was very effective. So yeah. Oh, one more thing. This is just some chicken wire here, screwed or zip tied to the frame, bent it over. That way the cloth, when she's dressed, doesn't interfere with any of the mechanism for her head to move up and down. You gotta be very mindful of that when you're dressing her, that nothing is interfering with the movement of the head or the stick or the stirring. So this chicken wire was just enough to hold up some light cloth. Had her dressed with burlap and creepy cloth, some other fabric I just happened to have around. But yeah, that's my stirring witch prop, and that's her naked. Some people wanted to see her naked, so there she is. Thanks.